Playmakers and major recruiting battles headline today's Florida High School Football Recruiting Countdown.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back into the portal where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal news. I am your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst and writer. Thank you for making the portal your first listen each and every day. And today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. Today is about playmakers, guys on the defensive side of the ball, and some really talented players overall that make game-changing plays. As we get down closer to the top players in the state of Florida, we are now down to number 35 through 31, and it's to the point where it's really hard. The differential between a guy that's ranked number 30 and number 15 in Florida is really small. So with that being said, let's get started with today's countdown, and it's a fun player to begin the countdown, to say the least. This is a guy that I've seen several times, Simeon Caldwell. Is he going to play linebacker? Is he going to play safety? Is he going to be at the hybrid spot? Is he going to be a nickel? There's a lot of different ways you could view this player. His dad is a linebacker coach in the NFL. He's a guy that has family ties to Ohio State. He's very open-minded in his recruitment. He is a fascinating kid. Again, Simeon Caldwell, he's out of Bowles High School in Jacksonville, Florida. This is a great young man, first off. He's always really gracious when he's interviewed, so thank you for that. But trying to figure out his position is probably the hardest thing for me. He's give or take 190, 195 pounds, something like that, unless he's added a little weight since I've seen him a few months back. But again, this is a kid that he's got the right genetics. He's from the right family. He's at a tremendous football school, an overall academic institution in the Bowl School. So there's a reason to think that his upside is through the roof. And that also signifies why he's being recruited the way he is. His official visits are Miami, May 30th, USC, June 6th, Notre Dame, June 13th, Ohio State, June 20th. Needless to say, he has an elite list of programs coming after him. Does Simeon Caldwell end up playing college football near home? Does he end up leaving the area? He doesn't really care about distance from home. He's unusual. Most kids have a little preference with that, but he's traveled quite a bit because of his dad's career. And I think he's happy to end up wherever he feels like home is. As for a player, this is just my best guess right now on where Simeon Caldwell ends up playing in terms of a position. If he goes to a school that's going to try to run a traditional 4-2-5 or, basic 4-3, I could see him eventually growing into a will. But I think his best bet, especially to make it to the National Football League, is to play the hybrid position where he's lined up over the slot receiver or the tight end or the H-back, whatever it is, and he moves around quite a bit. I also think that he will be a very good player in terms of using him in a nickel package. The nickel package now in the NFL is important for the linebacker spot. If you can play all three downs, it's extremely rare, and that's even the case in college. Caldwell might be that guy. So while I have him number 35 right now, just trying to figure out his position is why. Some people list him as a safety, some as a linebacker. I look at him as a nickel for right now that could end up at linebacker. So he has a lot of upside, and again, great kid. Next up, it's a young man that's committed to Florida State, but his recruitment is still a little bit open. We'll talk about the official visits in a moment. Tadarius Hughes has transferred to Northwestern High School. He was down in Homestead. I don't know if he's a guy that's going to end up playing corner or safety. He's listed at safety, but he's athletic enough. You could use him in multiple roles. In some way, similar to Caldwell, he's not as thick. He's not going to end up a linebacker, but he could at least play some nickel, and maybe in the right scheme, he could play corner in a cover 3 scheme, something like that, where he's in more zone. The one thing about Hughes, make no mistake about it, he is extremely long. His arm length and his ability to get to passes that other defensive backs simply would not, whether they're corner, nickel, or safety, is obvious. If he just walks by you on the field, and I've seen him play live, there aren't many guys that are blessed with Hughes' length. That being stated, sometimes guys that are long-legged and long-armed like that, they don't come in and out of their breaks all that well. Hughes is not that guy. And he's going to Northwestern now. He's going to get challenged every day in practice, to say the least. Calvin Russell and several other really good football players that will probably end up in college. being major forces. That's what he's practicing against. So that will help him in addition to his already blossoming skills. Where does he end up long term? I still prefer seeing him be a free safety, but he's, again, the theme of today is playmakers, uses that. I've seen him do that playing for SFE. I've seen him do that in general, just on his high school film. There's really nothing about his game that I don't like. The only thing with him now moving forward, whether it ends up being Florida State or somewhere else, and that's what we'll talk about here in just a second, how much weight does he put on and how comfortable is he in doing it? He's really thin right now. I don't even know if he's 175 pounds. He needs to get up closer to 190 if he's going to play safety, because you take so many big hits at that spot. It's one of the shorter terms in terms of ability to take the punishment at the NFL level. Guys at safety don't usually last long. He needs to add weight if he's going to play that. Otherwise, he's going to have to figure out a way to play corner. That being stated, let's talk about his recruitment. Hughes is unique. Miami, May 30th, Syracuse, June 6th, Florida State, June 13th is what I have. Again, he's committed to the Noles. Does that stick? Does he decide he wants to stay in the southern part of the state? Syracuse and Fran Brown do a tremendous job of recruiting. He might be the best recruiter as a head coach in the country. We'll see. That's a recruitment that I've got my eye on. I don't know where Hughes will end up, and I'm sure like most of the Florida State recruits, he wants to see how they play this fall before he's truly bought in to what's going on in Tallahassee. Can't say I blame him for that, but he's a really good football player, and his upside is very, very high. Next up was the D-line MVP from the Orlando Under Armour camp, and that's Brian Harris, Mandarin High School, Jacksonville, Florida. He was sort of on the radar last year, but he's roughly 280 now. He's in really good shape. Pass rusher. As an interior D lineman, we talk about this a lot here on the Portal Podcast. There are not enough of them, and I'm being kind. He can pass rush pretty well for a big guy, and he takes his craft serious both in the weight room and in terms of how he uses his hands and mixes up moves. I think that there's a pretty good chance he's going to get a lot better because he's just now starting to blossom, and he's already showed himself to be a good pass rusher in general, and he's playing at Mandarin. That's another one of those programs where everybody circles him on their schedule. It's one of the best programs in North Florida, and it's a program that can make a run in the state playoffs because they got so many good players. You're going to be pushing the pile every day in practice, so that helps. As far as official visits, it's an unusually wide variety of schools here. This is really broad. He's also got Michigan he's probably going to set up as well, but he's got Stanford May 16th, West Virginia the 6th of June, Auburn midweek visit June 10th, NC State June 13th, and then the South Carolina Gamecocks on June 20th. I don't think Brian knows where he's going, and I also don't think that anybody really could project him until he gets done with his visits. I'm talking to him and then reading some articles. His recruitment is about as open as it gets in the state of Florida. And by the way, another kid, really nice and really respectful when we interviewed him at Under Armour in Orlando. So props to him. When we come back, we're going to talk about two more really electric athletes here in the state of Florida. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more, experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Here's an example. I'm not the most patient guy, so I want results in anything I do with my business. That's what you're going to get with Upwork. You can post your job, and it's easy, and it's free, and within a day, you're more than likely going to get qualified candidates to choose from. Visit Upwork.com right now. Post your job for free. That's Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Continuing on, we are down to number 32, and this is one of the more difficult kids to grade because he was at Mariana High School last year, and now he's transferred to Bluntstown, another smaller school, but it's in the Panhandle, just like Mariana is. That's Amari Thomas. He was Amari Clemens. He changed his last name. Running back, speed, shiftiness, and some power, but he plays at a smaller level. How does he take punishment once he goes up a step? We really don't know that. That's the only thing about grading him that's really, really hard because linebacker and especially running back, I don't like grading them at camps. those spots are about physicality. I love camps and Under Armour and all that, but those are a little more difficult except for the pass game stuff. So I liked his high school film a lot, but I knew that he was going against a lot of 1 and 2A competition and just destroying it, which he should. But at the same time, it was so consistent and his footwork was so good when he get in close quarters. I'm like, Amari is a guy that doesn't just make plays, he makes guys look bad. I think that he has a chance to be a starter at Florida State. That's where he's committed. He has a visit locked in with the Florida State Seminoles for June 20th. To my knowledge, and I'm sure other schools are trying to get him to take OVs elsewhere. I don't know about other OVs, specific dates, if he will take any, but I'm sure based on his film that he has plenty of opportunities to do so. Florida State would do very well to keep him. And by the way, Bluntstown is roughly 45 minutes from Tallahassee. That's a player Florida State cannot allow to get away. Finally, this is one of the most unique players in Florida and recent commitment to the Louisville Cardinals, Jaden Broadnax. Safety / corner / just football player at West Boca High down in South Florida. This is one of my favorite players to watch. I've seen him live. I've seen him on film. Another guy that's a playmaker, but it's not positionless football. But Jaden's a guy that plays so many spots and has so many different skills that I don't know that you can, quite frankly, pigeonhole him as a corner, safety, or nickel. He's a defensive back right now. Could he play on offense? I don't know. I haven't seen any film of him doing that. But his length and his athleticism lend to the idea maybe he could be a boundary receiver if that's what he wanted to do. I don't know if he has the hands for it, but his frame is tremendous. And in a lot of ways, him and Tadarius Hughes are built very similarly. West Boca is a really good program. They won 6A, and there's a lot of good guys there. Again, this is another theme. When you play at good programs, it helps you in practice. It will help you push the pile forward each and every day, weight room, how you study, everything like that. I will lean on the better programs more often than not when I do these lists because I know you're not just dominating and you can get lazy in practice. West Boca is really good. As far as his recruitment goes, this is another really, really unique list for a South Florida kid even. Auburn, May 30th. Syracuse, June 6th. Maryland, June 13th. And then again, the school he's committed to, the Louisville Cardinals, June 20th. I could see him ending up as a top 10 player in the state because he's played corner, he's played free safety, he's a hitter, he's got good change of direction skills, and he's got length. Just like with Tadarius Hughes, the question with him, especially if he plays safety, how much weight can he carry and can he take the pounding? Football is about brutality. It is an absolutely barbaric sport. Can you handle the pounding? He needs to add weight. What does he weigh come December after he goes through a full season? And they'll probably make another run in the playoffs. They got a lot of guys back at West Boca that are really good junior class. I imagine that his skills, you could argue that he's going to end up in the top 10. Still refining technique and all that stuff. But for me, with Broadnax, it's about how much mass he can put on and still move and change directions the way he is currently. It's not easy, but being a big-time athlete is not. Jaden Broadnax is one of my favorite DBs to watch in the country, not just the state of Florida, but I really like his skill set, and whether it's corner or safety, he's good. Now we just got to figure out, can he handle that weight, especially if he's going to play in the box some. Right now, again, kind of like with Tadarius Hughes, if I had to pick one spot for him, I'd put him at free safety because he's 6'2", 6'3". He's 175 pounds, give or take, and he can really change direction with that length. I think as a center fielder, that's the safest pick. I just want to see more weight on him long term because if he can do that, this can be an NFL player. Really, really good prospect. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day. Recruiting analysis, prospect lists like this one in Florida, underclassmen analysis are coming up very soon. We're going to be doing a lot of transfer portal stuff. Quick reminder, the portal opens again in April. It's going to be all hands on deck because I already know from talking to some coaches and some people, there are some schools in a bad spot at receiver, D-line, etc. It's going to be maddening. Right here on the Portal Podcast, we're going to have some predictions. We're going to have some breakdowns of who, what, when, where, and why, and how. It's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you lock in by subscribing and share this podcast with your friends. If anybody you know likes the portal or likes recruiting or anything with roster management, this is the channel for you. Everybody have a good one. I will talk to you again soon.